Hey everyone, it's Mrs. Goetsch. Today I'm going to show you how to make edible paint in 4 different ways. Now I'm not expecting you to make 4 different kinds of edible paint. I'm just showing you these different ways because you probably have everything you need for at least one of these recipes already at your house. And then you don't have to go shopping and it's super easy peasy. I love edible paint. Let's just get that out there. I love edible paint. I think it is so fun for all ages. I think it's great for older kids because you're getting to use something different and then you get a snack. I think it's great for younger kids because sometimes younger kids don't know that they're not supposed to eat paint and then they start eating the paint. But with this, it's totally okay if they eat the paint. It's not a big deal. Nothing's gonna hurt them. The one thing I will say about edible paint is you have to use food coloring, and food coloring can stain. So you'll notice that I put on this darker shirt and an apron to hopefully protect me from getting stained with the food coloring. The kids can tell you that whenever we do anything with food coloring, I end up with food coloring all over my fingers. I don't know how it happens. So the first edible paint that I made today was the flower recipe. Now the flower recipe is pretty easy. It's nice because you can control how thick or how runny your paint is, but probably doesn't taste great. So if you're just kind of looking for something that you can taste, but you're not actually trying to eat it, flour is a good option. With the flower paint recipe, all that you really need to know is that you need 1 part flour to 2 parts warm water. So I did, in my little glass jar here, I did about a tablespoon of flour, and then I heated up some water with my tea kettle, and then I poured in just about 2 tablespoons of warm water, maybe a little bit more, and then I just stirred it up so I got this nice runny paint, and then I added orange food coloring. Now with the flour recipe, you do want your water to be warm. You can microwave your water. You can use like a hot water dispenser if you have one of those. But I will say with the warm water, because it's going to be hot, you're not going to want to make it and then immediately give it to someone to use. So boys and girls, if you make the flour recipe, you're going to have to let your paint cool for a little bit before you get started, either using your fingers or like I'm going to use grapes because then I can eat my paintbrush. So there's that. But I like the flour one because you can make it thicker if you want. If you want something, more texturized, or if you want kind of a nice runny paint like I have here, you can just add more water. Now the next kind of paint I made was a vanilla yogurt paint. So you can use vanilla yogurt or vanilla pudding or pretty much any white yogurt or white pudding so that you can mix in your colors. So here's what one of my vanilla yogurt paints looked like. I did just like 2 scoops out of a regular sized yogurt cup that you would like put in a lunchbox. I just did like 2 scoops into here and then a couple drops of pink food coloring, and then I just stirred it up. Easy peasy. And then I did the same to get this really nice green color, and the same for the purple. And to stir up, I've been using spoons and toothpicks and forks. I mean, I'm using everything. So whatever you have on hand, it's going to work. You could even use your finger if you really want. It's not really going to matter. Now the third kind of edible paint I made, I used like a Cool Whipped topping. So with this, I will say, if your Cool Whipped topping is in the freezer, get it out a little bit before you want to make the paint because mine was pretty frozen and I had to really stir in my food coloring. But it did make this really pretty, really nice, pretty runny paint that I think is going to be really nice to work with. And then the last version of edible paint, I used just light corn syrup. You want to use the light kind because then you'll actually be able to see the colors. And then I used it to make this yellow. It kind of reminds me of honey. I imagine that this is the honey that Winnie the Pooh would love to eat. Now with the Caro syrup one, it's really fun because it'll dry on your paper with like this really pretty shiny, I don't know, like almost stained glass kind of sheen, but it's really sticky. Like you're gonna get syrup everywhere. It's just gonna happen. So if you don't want a big sticky mess, don't use the Caro syrup. But if you are excited for a big sticky mess and you want that pretty sheen, that shininess on your paper, you're gonna wanna use the Caro syrup. The only downside I would say with edible paint is that you're not able to keep your artwork forever because you're gonna end up with bugs. I've been able to keep the Caro syrup paintings that we've done in class. We did this during Yellow Week, I think, at the very beginning of the school year. I was able to keep these paintings up for probably about 2 weeks. And really the only reason I sent them home was because the syrup was starting to drip. But you do have to let the paper or the artwork, if you do the syrup recipe, kind of harden up overnight. And then even when you do hang it, it will slowly start to drip. Luckily at school, our custodial staff is really great. They made sure that there were no yucky bugs or ants or anything, and it was up high enough on the bulletin board that I didn't have to worry about it. But with all of these other kinds of paints, you're not gonna wanna save it. Like you're gonna get really gross bugs, you're gonna get ants, you're gonna get flies, it's gonna be gross. So I would say do your edible paint, take a picture of it so you can remember it forever, and then probably throw it away because you don't want a gross bug infestation in your house if you can avoid it. And you don't want your dogs or pets or anyone else to come up and start eating your artwork. That would be very sad. So let's get started. I'm just gonna show you how this paint looks on the paper, and then we will be all done here. So I'm gonna use just a little grape. Now, for this assignment, we are designing a silly shell because we just read Norman the Slug with the silly shell. And I want to see if you guys can use these materials to make your own silly shell. Norman in the book, he's got a donut for his silly shell. So I think maybe I will try to make a donut. So I'm going to do some pink. That's our yogurt. Look how nice that is. And then I think I'm going to have to dot it. I don't think, yeah. See if I wipe it. I mean, that looks pretty, but I want the color to stay there. So I'm probably going to have to dab with, yeah, there we go. Dabbing works out a lot better. Now I'm going to show you what the flower one looks like. This one is a little runnier, so I think I'm going to actually just use my fork and kind of drop it around the pink. I think that'll be pretty. Ooh. Yeah, this one's a little more drippy. So I would say maybe thicken it up a bit, but it still looks cool. And this would actually be great for mixing. Let's taste it. No. It's like, if you ever had like raw pizza dough, if you've ever made your own pizza dough, and you think the pizza dough is going to taste really good because you love pizza, and you have a little crumb, not good. It's not like cookie dough. Ugh, gross. All right, now let's use the blue. I think the blue will be really pretty. Look at that. Oh, I think I'm going to just kind of do the same thing, drip it on with my spoon. My stomach's starting to growl because I really want to eat these grapes. Oh yeah, the blue looks nice. Now I think if I lift this up to show you, it's gonna run, but we'll be quick. Okay, so that's what they all look like so far. You can kind of see definitely the blue, which is the whipped cream, and the flour are running the most, but the yogurt is actually holding up pretty well. So that's exciting. And we know what the yogurt looks like. That's what the green is. My purple is yogurt. I'll show you the Caro syrup. And you know what? I'm just gonna dip in with my fingers because that's the best. Oh, look at that. Do you guys see that? Woo. Makes me feel like I'm Winnie the Pooh. So I'm gonna put that, I think, on the inside of where the pink is. And when we did this in class, I gave everyone their own paper plate with their own little bit of syrup, and then they used marshmallows to paint, and then they got to eat once they were done painting. But I'm not sharing with anyone, so I don't mind if I lick my fingers. Oh, it's so sugary. There we go. I think it's looking pretty good. So I hope that you guys get a chance to make some edible paint. Now you know how to make it. It's super easy. Most of these recipes, all you need is kind of your base, so like the whipped cream, and then food coloring. The only one that requires like an extra step other than just mixing whatever you have with food coloring is the flour, and all you really have to do with that is heat up the water, which is pretty easy peasy. I guess you could add something to the flour one to make it taste better, but that's up to you. All right, my friends, let's get the rest of this off. I hope you are having a good Wacky Wednesday. I miss you. I can't wait to see your silly shells. I hope you guys get to make some edible paint. I hope your parents get to get in on the fun, and your siblings too. Maybe grandma or grandpa, whoever you're with right now. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.